On today's Kirkwood and Dunn, we are talking about if the Big Ten now has two Goliaths, as Kurt Cignetti says, as Indiana made their big presence known at media days. And of course, Kurt Cignetti was throwing bars all day long in Chicago. We're talking about that. We're talking about what other coaches said about Indiana, as well as what they said about the SEC. And finally, we're going to wrap up with some Indiana roster news, as there's some big shakeups coming to college football with another court injunction. Let's go.
Obviously, they're a great program. Got a lot of respect for them. Got a lot of respect for Coach Day. A lot of great players. Great fan base. And, they're a Goliath. There's some Goliaths in the Big Ten that have been Goliaths for a long time.
That was Coach Cignetti talking about Ohio State as Ohio State fans react. And they made this comment that I want to start our conversation of this Kirkwood and Dunn episode, Tim. Sig in Indiana is exactly what we've wanted for so long, a true equal with consistency and great leadership at the top to compete with us for years. Penn State lacked both qualities. Oregon lacks leadership at the top, and Michigan just isn't consistent. We have Coach Cignetti coming off media days, having Ohio State fans tweet about how good of a coach Cignetti has, and comparing Cignetti to truly their peer, their conference, the Goliath, so to speak, after the media day in the Big Ten. Where are we? What timeline are we on?
It was not, but I think 20 months ago, when I day tripped from Indianapolis to Columbus to watch an undefeated Indiana Hoosiers team go and take on the Buckeyes, and admittedly get kind of shoved into a locker a little bit. It was a valiant effort by that 2024 team, but it was a little bit tough that day. And the trash talking that I had with the OSU student section was a lot of sit down, chump, you're not on this level. And in 20 months, we've completely replaced every other Big Ten squad, and the Ohio State fan base largely has come around to oh yeah, no, they're good. They're going to be basically probably our rival now for the next 10 years. They're clearly doing the right things, everything else. Oregon, you're whatever, and Michigan, you stink again. Penn State, good luck being Iowa State 2.0. No. The Big Ten rivalry is now Indiana, Ohio State, and they've accepted it. I've always thought that this could be it. They've accepted it. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, Tim, I think what was interesting, and the reason why I saw that tweet and I'm bookmark this because I want to talk to Tim about this. Ohio State, Coach Cignetti just said they had the best great fans or whatever. That grosses me out.
That's
but you and I
true.
both you and I both disagree with him on that one. He doesn't, he's fallible. He makes comments like that, or it's just a mind game and he knows exactly what he's doing. He's getting them too fluffed up, as I would say. Ohio State is the best team in the history of the Big Ten. They just are. Fact. I know I'm not.
There's no argument.
There's no argument. Michigan has been inconsistent. People forget that Jim Harbaugh was almost fired after 2020. Their best coach in the last 25 years, he almost got fired. He took a pay cut. And then they probably cheated to get all the way to the national championship. Now, they're not tearing down the banner. Good for them. I'm not criticizing
flags fly forever,
it,
baby.
but it took some extreme measures, to put it bluntly, for them to get to a place where they were rivaling. Their program was at a prestige level of Ohio State. They were inconsistent and then Penn State, they rose up and beat Ohio State with James Franklin. We know how that turned out. And then Oregon hasn't been in the conference very long, but obviously they've never won a national title and got boat raced by Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. So Indiana's got to continue to deliver. We've got to be better as we've been for the last 2 years, the next 3 to 5 years, to truly be in the rival. We could be a Penn State type blip if we go back to not making college football playoffs or getting beat all the time by Ohio State. But one of the things that I think is interesting is just the amount of respect I have seen from the Ohio State fan base for Cignetti's way of doing things.
It's finally the only program really that is giving the true respect that we've been arguing about for the entire time we've been doing this show. Because even in the past week, Alabama fans chirping at Big Ten Media Days, all like there's a whole segment of this entire country that still is not like accepting the fact that Indiana is just a preeminent football program right now. But Ohio State does. And it might be because they really felt, the taste of that in Indianapolis at the Big Ten championship game. I expect Indiana and Ohio State to absolutely be rivals for the next 5 years. Who knows? I think we're all in the back of our heads going like, but Cignetti isn't that young, and who knows? And what happens once our coordinators leave? Thank you to the rest of college football for not hiring Brian Haynes or Mike Shanahan. But like, I do eventually expect those guys to leave and get other jobs. But like, man, this is absolutely, I think, where we will be in the near term. It'll be Indiana and Ohio State as perennial Big Ten favorites, and just sort of pick whoever you think has maybe the better quarterback that year. The rest of the world is still going to be on Oregon for some dumb reason, but I expect them to get off of that next year when Oregon loses in the playoffs by another 50 points to somebody. Maybe they'll start discrediting Oregon a little bit, but it is Indiana and Ohio State.
Yeah, it's the trajectories of the program. We'll see how long Ryan Day sticks around as well. Like, it doesn't feel like any big time college job like that is a job that you go retire at if you started coaching there in your early 40s, like Ryan Day did. Like, I just cannot see him coaching for another 20 years until he gets there. Like, it feels like an NFL job or health related reasons steps around and takes an ambassador job.
I mean, I think we are within, maybe not this season, but like next season, hearing Ohio State fans being like, Michigan, we don't even care about you. Indiana is our rival now. Like,
I don't know about that. There's some deep seated hate. There's some deep seated hate.
But they're gonna dominate Michigan. It's not even good. That's the thing, right? It's not even gonna be. It's a rivalry, sure. Just like Indiana and Purdue. Yeah, it's a rivalry, but like, come on, we're dog walking you every time we hit the field. So. I would not be shocked if we hear something like that. Maybe it's a different phrasing, but that's on the table.
If I was an Ohio State fan, I think I would intentionally be like, Indiana's our rival now, because it's just a slight on Michigan. Yes, I think that is a great talking point as well. Ohio State goes and plays Texas, like great non-conference game. And, this conference pride thing, we'll talk about this later in the show, SEC versus Big Ten. It's just the biggest conversation that's happening. I want to be very clear. I want Texas to dog walk Ohio State. I would love for Ohio State to get dominated by Texas. I wouldn't we have Chris Drew from Dead Air Sports going on and saying that 10 wins is an Ohio State fan's birthright. Like, that's the mentality that they have. Is it wrong? Probably not.
Nope. Yeah. I think it's one season in the last 15 since like 2010.
Yeah.
That they had not won 10 games.
Wasn't it the year they were in trouble? Or
it was the Luke Fickell year. It was the Luke Fickell year. Yeah. So I also do kind of get where Chris Drew gets off saying that's a guaranteed floor. He's not wrong, statistically speaking.
That's what will make it funny if they only win 9 or 8 wins. Like, I will clip Chris Drew calling it birthright and play it on repeat over and over for him to watch, of just like, what happened to your birthright? You got birthright taken away. So like, there's that. But then on the flip side, if Ohio State does beat Texas, I'm also not going to be mad, because that's hilarious. That will be hilarious for Ohio State to go down there and beat them in the South. And then Indiana can take care of Ohio State.
The entire strength of record and strength of schedule debate is just going to get flamed to 10,000 degrees. I cannot wait.
Yeah. So, no, you won't find conference pride here, but Tim and I do root for the funniest storylines. And really, either way, we're going to get a laugh. And that's what we love about college football and setting the stage for that. Speaking of setting the stage, Curt Cignetti owned the stage at Big Ten Media Days. I'm pretty sure everyone has seen this clip, but it's always worth resharing to hear what Cignetti said in his closing remarks when he was on stage.
The Big Ten is the best league in football, and a lot of really good football teams. It's hard to win on the road. Very physical football teams, very well coached. It definitely prepares you for the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. The numbers speak for themselves. I mean, we don't run a hype machine up here in the Midwest. We believe everything's earned, not given. And when we fall short, we say we fell short. We don't cry a river, whine, and complain. All right? And that's why we're the best.
Coach Cignetti, thank you so much for your time.
Coach Cignetti throwing down the gauntlet, not really saying obviously outwardly about the SEC whining and complaining the entire week before that about their 9-game schedule and all the stuff that the Big Ten has been going through. Big SEC media pundits are roasting Cignetti because their notable game on there was Purdue. And it is a rivalry game, you dumbasses. Like, that is exactly what you put on there. You put rivalry games on there. Alabama has put Auburn on there multiple years, and Auburn has been dog shit.
Booty cheeks, Auburn.
Yeah, and everyone's like, oh, it's one of the best rivalries. Like, no, it's not. Like, it is one-sided. You just Auburn every so often, like, grow up and beat Alabama 1 year or 2 years when you have Cam Newton or whatever.
Kick six.
So regardless,
Yeah, incredible play.
Purdue sucks. We're going to dominate them, but it's still a notable game for Indiana. Like, we live by Purdue fans.
Yeah.
We live by a Purdue fan, I should say. Indiana does dominate them at all turns, so it's always going to be a notable game for us. But Tim, he lays down the gauntlet. He talks about whining, complaining in the Midwest. We aren't a hype machine. We aren't doing that stuff. People have lashed out at Cignetti here. What did you think of his thoughts? I know you had
my
a
first
reaction.
Twitter video.
It was great. People loved it.
When I saw that, and I had like a busy work day, and I got home, I was trying to catch up from all the comments. I was just like, this is what I've been saying the entire time. Like, this is not a religious show, but this man is my Lord and Savior. Like, I will follow him to anywhere. You name the time and place, I am there. Like, no wonder Indiana football like plays hard and like overachieves, because this guy just gets up there and is no holds barred. He's ready to go. He's saying it exactly what he wants to do. He's talking the talk and walking the walk. And I love that for the Indiana head football coach. I want nothing to change. I will say, not to draw this into IU basketball, but it's been made before. He's Bobby Knight without all the problems. Like, he's the brashness of Bobby Knight, but also not maybe, doing terrible things. So for that case, he's the perfect fit for Indiana football. This is exactly what we wanted. I loved it. You could not have let me retweet that clip enough.
My favorite thing is that every time you call Cignetti Lord and Savior, I think we lose a follower or two. And there's always a comment on that this is blasphemous, like all this stuff. Well, I'm sorry. We love America here, and we love the freedom of religion. And if Tim wants to make his religion the Kurt Cignetti religion, I'm sorry. We love America. So,
sorry for supporting the church community by declaring Memorial Stadium a church. Yes, as it should be. That is where I go to worship. I worship on Saturdays. Thank you.
Okay, there's other things that came out of media day. I agree. Like, Cignetti just completely doesn't care and is going to say things. And as someone who I felt like it was my job to completely consume everything Cignetti was doing, you do realize that he has his talking points that are just like hammered in every single interview that he does. I love the guy. He knows how to stay on message. This was a very interesting tidbit about the offensive lineman, and I want Tim's reaction.
Find out more about him in fall camp. We'll probably start him out at guard. I think he feels a little more comfortable there. And he played better at guard than tackle last year when he went to games. And, we're looking for him to make a step. He's a young guy. A lot of times these young guys try to have it both ways, fun at night and then do the work in the building. You can't have it both ways. And he's just got to make a few better choices and decisions, get a little tougher mentally so that, he can play the way we want him to play from the first play to last play.
I tweeted out as soon as that hit my timeline that Cignetti essentially is alluding to that Johnny, who he's talking about in the clip, is a little bit out of shape. Like, he's not in tackle shape. You got to be a little bit more agile at that tackle spot. And for him to bring up mental toughness and going out at night and like all that type of stuff, it's there. Alec Keyser pointed out he wasn't being subtle. There was no reading between
No,
the lines about what he was doing. What did you think about that? And what do you think about Joe Brunner popping out to the right, at least for the start of fall camp?
I think if I'm Pizza X, I'm a little bit worried about my projected sales going into the fall. Like, I'm just going to be real honest that, like, oh man, the late night snacks to the football team house maybe are going to get dialed down a little bit because coach just went out there and was immediately like, buddy, you got to get your shit together. This is surprising because I think we have all in the sort of IU sphere have just been like penciling in Joe Brunner at guard and Johnny at right tackle. We were more concentrated on like, oh, who might be center? They might move Bray Lynch around, like whatever else. And this was also very clear. I think that he's not worried about the guards, that side of the offensive line. Johnny's the more guy that's up in the air. Like, to me, this is also ripe for Johnny to, if he doesn't come to play when camp opens, he could be out of there too. And we'll be pulling in one of those guys off the deep bench that we've been talking about. I was initially worried a little bit. Joe Brunner seemingly kind of mostly always played guard. That's a problem in a way because while you would initially pull up Joe Brunner's profile and be like, oh, he's 6'7", that's great. You need a bigger guy, a tackle, whatever else. To me, that's more indicating that he's not been great at tackle. Like for at Wisconsin when he was developing. And thus that's why
I will point out he was listed at 6'5" at Wisconsin. So, if we want to play the measurement game.
Yeah, 6'5", but like even 6'5" would be sufficient in terms of like arm length and those sort of things to play tackle. The fact that he was being played at guard at Wisconsin tells me Wisconsin already didn't think he was good enough to play tackle. So this does feel a little as a NFL fan, Joe Thuney playing left tackle, like, it's kind of the best option we got. It's probably not going to be great, but we're going to roll with it. That tells me how much Johnny did not progress from playing. He was legitimately playing snaps in the national championship game at right tackle and has not gotten better since then. That has me worried.
Khalil Benson, by the way, is taking first team snaps in training camp at right
for the
tackle.
Chiefs. Yeah.
For the Chiefs. God.
Good luck with that. Kansas City.
Mahomes. Good thing Mahomes miraculously healed from his injury, as we've seen this week. I am more concerned. I actually think like if Joe Brunner can play a competent right tackle position and maybe, that helps him develop for the pros, like being a swing tackle.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that is a good thing for this year. I think we talked about in our offensive line preview a little bit of a concern of like the future next year. And we said if Johnny can lock down a tackle position, maybe he's your future left tackle for the rest of the next few years while he's in an Indiana uniform, since Bray Lynch, Carter Smith, Joe Brunner, and Drew Evans all graduate this year, even though is graduation really a thing in modern day college football? Who knows? But that's where I'm a little concerned. I needed him to like be a tackle position. Now it's fall camp. I think Cignetti knows what he's doing by putting the word out there that like, I know you're not working hard enough to my level, Bob Bostat's level. And so we're going to slide you in and we're going to make it publicly known we're sliding you in because you're not working hard enough. I think this might be a call out to Johnny to get his act together, and he might still end up starting the season at right tackle. But for now, Cignetti just kind of threw down the gauntlet.
Yeah, as he should. And listen, now Cignetti has won all but 2 games. He has an undefeated national title under his belt. He can say whatever he wants about a player and about a player publicly and not really risk that sort of like the locker room turning against him or ruining his relationship with players or whatever. It's like, no. Coach said it, so we're gonna have to get in line here. And this is gonna be up to Johnny. This is where it gets in. Like, do you need the sausage and pep with ranch at 2:00 at night? Probably not. It's tough. Listen, I've lived that life. I have lived that life. It is hard to turn that down. Those breadsticks slap at 2:00 in the morning. You got to find the strength inside to turn that down. I hope Johnny can do it too.
Meanwhile, Carter Smith comes out. He's been eating like a ton because of his injury. He's actually underweight. So Carter, don't share with the Johnny. I think that's what we need to hear here. Watch it be the opposite. Maybe he's like lost a ton of weight and he actually needs to eat more. So like Pizza X sales are going to go through the roof. Who knows? Tim, I think one of the things that's been really interesting is like, we saw this with the EA Sports game. Cignetti is the face of college football right now. He's going to be in a State Farm commercial. He was the cover of it. And Cignetti kind of talked about being a celebrity, which I think is an interesting topic of conversation.
That really has happened. I'm a little surprised by that, honestly. But it doesn't matter whether it's St. Bart's or wherever. And, so I guess like you guys will ask me, do you ever take a step back and kind of reminisce on what you've done, you guys have done, your team, your program. And I think those moments like is when I do that, because I'm always like a little taken back by, wow, like you gotta be kidding me. So it's nice, but I also know that, we don't hold up our end of the bargain. I'll be hung in effigy next fall.
Well, that's not true. I think he could go in 12 and we'd still love him. Like he's not at Alabama anymore. So that's one thing that is important to note. But I do think he said in a later interview, because again, he talks about the same things. I mean, it's media day. They get asked a lot of the same questions. He talked about like at the dinner the night before in Chicago, like all the college girls were coming over and not taking pictures with Tyreek Tucker, Bones Jones, and Carter Smith. They were taking pictures with him. Like that crazy. Was like the big thing. And he just was talking about taking back. I appreciated that a lot because it really highlighted that he is this now cult of personality that he understands it and he thinks it's weird. And I've always wondered, does Cignetti like struggle with all of a sudden being a celebrity and making that all that stuff being kind of like shocking that I'm like getting recognized and like he said, St. Bart's like overseas. Yeah. And I'm sure it's Americans recognizing him, but it's still like for him and his wife who were relative anonymity at Elon and IUP and all this stuff. He's a national figure.
Yeah. No matter where he goes, like everything is a possible clip. It's a Kurt Cignetti didn't tip at my restaurant and I'm a server. Yeah. Like he's at a new level because he is not only just the head football coach at Indiana, he's a college football cult personality. Like no matter what happens now, he could retire tomorrow, be on College Game Day then for 10 years and have like speaking engagements, the whole thing, because what he's done at Indiana is incredible. So that's a different level of celebrity, and it's a different level that we've not had at Indiana probably ever.
Yeah, I will say Bob Knight probably was.
Sure, but Bob Knight didn't live in like a cell phone era where
Social
somebody could have been clipping him at the restaurant. So Bob Knight could berate a waitress and it was just a rumor. If Kurt Cignetti doesn't
throw his hands and pin a student up against the wall.
Right, exactly. It's a little bit different. But like you hear any celebrity talk about this now of like, I forget even the podcast I was listening to, but somebody's talking about like, yeah, if I don't tip 45% minimum, that's going on the internet and it's getting 1,000 retweets. Like it is, you gotta like understand now your behavior is literally always on the internet, even if you don't think of it as like, it is just a different level of celebrity now that he's reached.
Something we have to deal with here at Kirkwood and Dunn. Speaking of like weird things that no one ever noticed, this is a crossing of my worlds here. The Yak, Barstool's The Yak is one of my favorite shows. I watch every single day. And they spent with our previous guest, friend of the program, White Boy Rick. They were asking him about Cignetti's handshakes.
I've never in my life shook someone's hand like his handshake.
Okay.
Slippery.
I was not there to confirm, but the footage I saw was
like
unbelievably
wet
soft handshake.
noodle.
Limp.
Cignetti?
It was all finger, no palm.
Oh, that's awful. I didn't even know what to do. And this is like this guy is like the best coach right now.
Yeah, he's
Aura,
like, oh man,
incredible.
He's a hard ass.
So the only explanation is I think he's doing it as a mind game.
I agree.
Like I think it's intentional to fuck you up.
24 hours later, we're still trying to figure it out. Imagine an opposing coach.
I don't actually. It was such a weird handshake. I don't know how he ever got a job.
Did he do it with multiple people or was it one flub?
Every single one of them.
That's his thing then.
It's a trend.
I love
and
this.
Confirmed with Kadick, and he's like, oh yeah.
Weak handshake.
And I think
do it again. I didn't see it on camera.
What?
Do it again. You did it off camera.
Oh, okay.
Is he a germaphobe?
I wouldn't say a weak handshake. I would say a palmless handshake.
Palmless?
Look at that.
Palmless.
Oh,
He gives you all finger, no palm.
That's how a princess is.
yeah, exactly.
I think he's telling you to kiss the ring.
I think it's a mental warfare thing, and it worked.
So the yak goes on. They show a clip from actually the Rose Bowl. And I remember this actually being a thing when he shook Kalen DeBoer's hand and did what they're talking about. It's not web to web. They're not touching fingers and like there's no grip.
Thumb joints.
He's there. Then they showed post game after Cignetti beat Kalen DeBoer in the Rose Bowl, and it's web to web, and it is a normal handshake. I think the man is playing mind games with everybody. I agree.
I
with
certainly hope
what they're
so.
talking about.
Listen, we all live in a little bit of a toxic masculinity society, and there's one thing I learned growing up quickly. It was like how you really shake a man's hand. Like that's such a legitimate thing. So the fact that he would have this limp handshake seems so odd for a guy that's so brash and like forward. I'm going into a complete spin zone, just saying this is the Godfather. He's telling you to kiss the ring, right? He's bringing your hand, just kiss it right there. That's what it is. That's the like ultra dominating move. And then later on, after he roughs you up on the football field, he can really sort of give you the one up on the handshake. But that's it. That is the like level of celebrity now. Is like,
yes,
when he does an interview, his handshake now gets blown out of proportion or like talked about and 55 times over. Where it was like that never mattered before anyway. Now it does.
No, you're exactly right. Like that's why I shared it, because it's like I almost put out a whole clip on Saturday. Like I was just going to talk about the handshake and going through the science of a handshake because that's what Cignetti does. He moves the needle, gets the yak talking. They talked about it for like 40 minutes. Like we saw an hour or a minute and a half clip, but they brought on Kadick. They were texting Pat Coogan about it. Like they were all talking about the handshake stuff. And someone should ask him. I want someone to ask. Hey, media, traditional media folks, not Kirkwood and Dunn, please ask him about the handshake because I would like to know if it's a mind game.
I wonder if he switches to a fist bump and just like tries to throw everybody off now. Now he's just not a handshake guy. He's just only a fist bump.
That's so funny you said that because I actually was like, if I ever had the opportunity to meet Cignetti or around, I won't even go in for a handshake anymore. I'm going to just fist bump because I just don't want to like, I don't want to experience the handshake. I don't want him to
going for a handshake. I'm not worthy enough to shake that man's hand. I'm dropping to my knees and bowing repeatedly. And if he gives me the honor to stand up and shake his hand, I will absolutely do it. But I will not even be assuming that. Like totally different approaches here.
Tim's going to be like kissing his feet, just
1,000%. I was clipping on Twitter singing, "My God is an awesome
I know.
God,
We know.
Yeah.
We lost followers and we're going to lose them again. Freedom of religion, folks. It's a staple in America. All right. So let's go. Cignetti had this to say. Let's leave with something serious I thought was really good.
Since the NIL era has kicked in, the numbers speak for themselves. And like Illinois, really good football team. Iowa, let me tell you, Iowa was one of the most underrated football teams in America last year. Minnesota's won 8 bowl games in a row. USC, right? Bob Chesney's going to get UCLA going, right? Matt Rule's got really close at Nebraska. I know I'm missing people, so I don't want to name too many. Washington. I mean, Washington's tough. And when you go out there and play, it's so loud, it's tough.
So Cignetti giving praises and hit on a really, I think, a key talking point for all of us that as much as the SEC like hammers like Texas and Vandy should have gotten the playoffs, Iowa got absolute screw job last year and is a very tough team in the Big Ten. It's Cignetti understands not only the talk. I don't even think he's necessarily doing this for talk because SEC likes to talk about the gauntlet and how hard it is to play everywhere because they know that their inferior top teams are going to drop games when they shouldn't in the regular season. 2 teams, Texas losing to Florida, almost losing to Mississippi State, and almost losing to Kentucky. So they have to say, look how good we are from top to bottom, because if they lose that, they want the committee to give them grace. Cignetti's not talking like Cignetti's as a football guy going, Iowa's better than most of the SEC. Minnesota, who all of you will crap on, continues to just win ball games, even though most of your programs have already fired their coaches. PJ Fleck's really solid. And then I love and USC. Also, Bob Chesney. I can't bring up USC because there's no talking point there. They have a ton of talent and they continue not to win. So I just love Cignetti is legitimately walking everyone through. Like, look at all these programs. And he didn't even talk about the big dogs. He didn't even talk about the Ohio States and the Michigans. He's talking about that middle tier to bottom half teams that are way more solid than ESPN and the College Football Playoff Committee give credit.
Well, and it's the only thing. There was this viral tweet this week, too, that was about, oh, look at these schedules since 2021. Nice time to choose. And it's like, oh, wins versus AP top 25. This is just the SEC being this sort of like circular reference in on itself of, well, when we put Missouri as a preseason top 23 team, then all of a sudden, if Arkansas beats them in week 9, it's a top 25 win. Like, this is not the way that we should be doing this. And the Big Ten has proven time and time again when it gets to postseason games and like through the length of the season, like these teams are really good. They are absolutely on par with the SEC and arguably better, especially in the last like 2 years in the NIL era. The SEC has fallen off.
Yeah. Speaking of the NIL era, let's talk about jersey sponsorships. Before we get into jersey sponsorships, though, if those watching on Spotify or YouTube might recognize a couple of apparel items that Kirkwood and Dunn, like
you
Bama Bloomington.
You stole my. Am I going to get a royalty off of this? This is what I'm going to be chanting.
You said I need to talk to the Kirkwood and Dunn marketing department about creating a Bama Bloomington shirt, and we did because we hear you, and that's what we want to do. Also, I get asked a lot about the hat that I usually wear that says Hoosiers in the Bison. Well, of course we can't do that because, trademark protection. So we have our tailgate hat of the Bison Saturdays. These are going to go for sale. Also a little
merch
nice
time,
little
baby.
Kirkwood and Dunn right here. Yeah, on the side of the hat. Baseball cap. Let me know in the comments because this is heather red. It's a little salmon on the video, a little pinkish. I can make a black one. I can make a white one if you'd rather have a different color than this heather red. I don't like red for most t-shirts because it's usually bright red, like Nebraska red, and that's not as cool. So I can do a little black or white or whatever, but this hat is black. This hat turned out really well. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to just wear it on the podcast because we get asked about these hats a lot, and this would be really cool. So speaking of, Tim, if people are watching, listening, the way that you can do this and find out when this stuff goes for sale is by following along on Spotify, subscribing on YouTube, and following on Apple to listen to our podcast and leave comments and likes, but also on social media at Kirkwood and Dunn. So that's where the people need to go.
Really, like, everybody's shown tremendous support for the podcast in the off season, which is great. We're really excited for the season to get started. This is the pivot. We'll sell some merch, which gives you some utility. We're not yet going to a Substack. That's not the last thing anybody needs is please subscribe to my Substack, my Patreon type of a thing. We're just going to sell some merch. I think the hat is fantastic.
I don't think we're going to go to the membership model that a lot of people do. I say that now, but I really just don't. I don't like doing that personally. Like, I don't subscribe to pay for anything other than I will do On 3 and Rivals just to keep up with recruiting news and see all the chatter that's happening. Yeah. But I just really want to have the free model, but supporting us by buying a hat or buying a t-shirt. We're trying to price the t-shirt like $15.
And and subscribe.
It's not the greatest quality in the world, but if you don't want to do that, like and subscribe. Because, Tim, we are at 800 subscribers on YouTube, and we need 200 more. Would go a long way for the podcast. So tell a friend about us. Tell your mom and dad who doesn't like sports. Just click subscribe on this little Kirkwood and Dunn channel.
Yeah, YouTube is a growing platform. I honestly go to Facebook first put the YouTube clip in there, then tag your uncle that only does like 3 things on social media to then go like and subscribe. That's where it's all at.
We're at 4,000 Facebook followers. We just started that in May.
Are they real? Who knows? That doesn't matter, but it counts. That's all.
It is very weird. It is very weird. I will like see people's names that I know that like from, living in Bloomington, like pop up and follow. And I'm like, that's weird. I've never told them about our podcast and now they're following us. But you know what? Shout out our Facebook followers. They are a loyal group and it has a lot of people following. Okay, Tim, we were talking about jersey sponsorships. Big news right before Big Ten Media Days. Ohio State announces that they are $17 million agreement with Chase. And they're going to put a very classy logo on their jerseys. Like, I think it blends in very well and looks really good. Now, we do realize that JP Morgan Chase maybe has some ties to some nefarious donors to Ohio State. Just going to put that out there. But then Notre Dame comes over the top with the $20 million per year. And then supposedly Texas is about to come over the top with another sponsorship that's over that. What do you think about these jersey sponsors? We talked a little bit about when Wisconsin had their blue Culvers on there, which is going to be kind of weird. But the Big 12 signs a deal for the whole conference for $20 million. So you're getting $1 million per. Michigan State, I realized, did like Michigan Credit Union for $4 million a year for 50 years or something like that.
Yeah.
That deal looks terrible right now. What do you think about these jersey sponsorship deals?
I mean, we kind of knew that this would be coming. This is not a surprise. The NBA kind of did this now in terms of American sports. It's been very popular in soccer across the globe for a long time. I fully expect, I don't know if Indiana will announce anything soon or for this season, but I would be stunned if we start the 2027 season without a jersey sponsor. Like, that would be actually stunning. The question is just sort of like how much, right? I think it's probably a smart move for Indiana not to jump at the early money and see, okay, Ohio State got this, Michigan got the, Texas getting this, like, here's where we feel like we slot in there. And then when you become maybe the only available property for somebody that's looking to get into the jersey sponsorship game, you're competing at a high level. I wouldn't be shocked if we're kind of waiting around and being like, hey, Eli Lilly, don't lowball us here. We know, we saw the Q2 like call, like we see the stock price, buddy. We know how much money is in there. My God, the foundation has an incredible amount of money, the Eli Lilly Foundation. So like, I wonder if they're just trying to get the most out of there. I'm okay with any kind of a jersey sponsorship. My thing is really just like the size. Even if it had contrasting colors, I don't care. I kind of thought, I mean, I don't think they have any money, but like if the Speedway, the IMS Speedway, and their like, flags were kind of right on there, I feel like that would be kind of cool. I'd love something that is kind of tied into at least Indiana as a state, but ultimately, if California Pizza Kitchen was like, here you go, I'd be like, great, sign me up. The barbecue chicken is the best.
I think from a branding perspective, Eli Lilly's the no-brainer. We talked about it. They look really good on the FIFA jerseys. And honestly, the Notre Dame SoFi ones don't look that good. Like that's one thing about the Ohio State ones. I think they work really well. Like the Chase symbol looks like a block O essentially, and it's on their jersey. So you said it best. Indiana maybe rushed the gun on the Merchant Bank Field contract. Them being intentional and taking their time with this one could actually pay some huge dividends.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to get Notre Dame and Ohio State money, nor should they from a football perspective. But you also got to realize from Ohio State, they sold their every team. I don't know the deal with Notre Dame, but every team will have this on
every sport.
So basketball, every sport. So if you tie in Indiana basketball, like no matter what,
Lord though.
I know.
Oh man, the alumni base, when you tweak the Indiana jerseys, the basketball jerseys, the pitchforks come out in Southern Indiana. Oh man, are they gonna have to, like, when they did the one time they would do like Black History Month, they do an alternate uniform. Good grief, the message boards would be lighting up about those alternate uniforms. I hope they do. They should be doing it. And listen, we're in a new era. Like, basketball can kick rocks. So like, I hope they do it. I hope it's Eli Lilly if it could be something else. If it was like Dollar General, I would be upset. But like, great. Anything else, I'm probably mostly fine with it. I just want to make sure we get all the money that we can get.
Okay, so Tim, real quick, other coaches, we didn't do a Wednesday pod. Hopefully you enjoyed the draft. I need to get those draft polls out there.
Yes.
I just know I'm going to lose.
Because I was
so I'm not really
dominating
highly
that.
motivated.
That should be an easy win for me.
The comments was, I think someone specifically said, thanks for coming out, Trent and Tim.
Give me a break.
They did not like our board. So
Wes took a pylon. Give me a
I think
break.
Wes or Abby are going to dominate the draft. But other coaches had a lot of things to say about Indiana, and we didn't get to talk about it on Wednesday. I do want to share this. Also, just a note, listeners of the Kirkwood and Dunn podcast. We know it's Bert Bielema. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
We know. We call him Bert on purpose. Like, if Bert is a internet nickname for when I think it kind of started when he was at Wisconsin and like traveled there. It's like when he get all worked up, it was like Bert. Like everyone called him Bert.
Yeah.
And that's what we call him. Your
It's
minds are going to
Bert
blow.
and Ernie. Like, look at
Yeah.
my guy. My guy's a little rotund.
Your mind is going to blow when we play Rucker.
Yeah. Yeah. People are going to get real upset about you.
Just lose their mind. But we do have some nicknames and some inside jokes. Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
When you hear us, when you hear us say,
I love inside jokes. I'd like to be a part of one someday. You're now in.
Well, now they are. Now they are. So we know. Appreciate your comments. We appreciate you trying to correct us. But like some of our comments got kind of lectury. Like if you want to be taken seriously as an indie podcast, like guys, we don't want to be taken seriously. I'm just telling you right now. Like we are going to make jokes about every team, even our own. So just FYI. But this is what Bert had to say about Indiana.
Kind of what's going on right now in the bigger picture of college football. That is single-handedly the most impressive story that I've witnessed in my college career. What Sigs did, came in and took over a program that historically has been one of the losingest programs, and turned it into 2 years later an undefeated, and literally ran away with it, right? Like I know what they did to us, right? And then to see them do what they did in the play, that's not happening in CFP playoffs. The way they've dominated teams, it's just really impressive. Obviously, he has a way of doing things that is unique to him and awesome. I've said it not once, twice, that I think our coaches have done an amazing job, but their players, man, like they've had really, really good players that they've used in ways that I'm like, that's really smart what they do, right? So, yeah, that's, in my opinion, the greatest run that I've seen, is the greatest story. I was at Kansas State with Bill Snyder, and I remember they were about as bad get when he took over, and he cut a deal with ESPN, or no, maybe it was what's the magazine that used to be really popular? Sporting News. This was not Sporting News. Sports Illustrated.
Just a terrible look for Sports Illustrated right here.
Right, but Sports Illustrated wanted to come in and do an article about how bad it was there, and he said, "I'll let you write the article, but when we turn this in, you got to come back and write a story about." And so there's a framed Sports Illustrated article on Coach's office when I was working for him that said the greatest turnaround in college football history, and I think Indiana probably passed that one by because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to share that with all my K-State friends that ending there, but that's why I played that whole clip. It's a very famous. There was Sports Illustrated was talking about K-State was going to go down a division potentially in college football, and then they did the greatest turnaround, and it was at the time. Bill Snyder's turnaround is the greatest turnaround until Cignetti, in my opinion, especially him winning a national championship. But Bert is refreshingly honest, which is why he sometimes gets us all riled up at Indiana, like when he was taking shots at Indiana basketball. And then he gets the South riled up when he's being honest about the state and the pecking order of college football. And him to just come out and say, most impressive thing I've ever witnessed in my time in coaching, and he's been coaching a long time. How did those comments sit with you, Tim?
Well, he's not wrong. He's absolutely right. And people are still, they recognize it, but they're not accepting it, right? Like everybody, when you hear SEC media or ESPN media, are like, yeah, greatest story ever, blah, blah, blah. But yet they don't want to believe that Indiana could just do it again. And like, truly, they're like, oh yeah, we'll put them 6 in this national. Like, if any SEC team had just run the table and had an undefeated 16-0 season, won the national title, and brings back still as much talent as Indiana's bringing back from the team that just won the title, they would be a unanimous #1 preseason team. And Indiana is being picked 3rd in the Big Ten Conference.
Yep.
It's a little insane, but he's right, absolutely. And I do think that after the shellacking we put down on Illinois last year, he knows very well what the challenge is when you have to go up against the Hoosiers.
A guy that's coached that long to have the reaction that's very famous now of him with his hands on his knees, just doesn't know what to do. Is just a testament to how well prepared. And Cignetti talked about that Illinois game, that basically everyone had talked about the Notre Dame and Illinois being the next Iowa, or Illinois being the next Indiana. And they were on Cover 3 podcast, and Tom Fornelli, known Indiana hater, lover of Illinois, he really doesn't hate Indiana. He just is like not a fanboy of conference pride and like wants to hate Indiana, but he does respect Indiana. He asked Cignetti about that, and basically Sig was like, I'm honestly, poor Illinois, they just got caught up in the machine with this team that had heard all season, all off season, that they were the next Indiana, and they just got anger taken out on them by this Indiana football team, which was an incredible clip. Go watch that Cover 3 clip of Cignetti on there. Okay, so speaking of getting destroyed, I will say that Indiana struggled with Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. It was a boxing match that ended 13-10 and razor's edge on terms of who was going to win that game. The person that probably got destroyed, though, was Julian Saint's Heisman hopes after that. Julian Saint's Heisman hopes got destroyed so bad in the Big Ten championship game that even his own fan base is talking about that he might not be good enough to win a national championship. Like, that is Josh Pate's going on there and talking about Julian saying having heart. Does he have enough heart? That we were walking into that game, Tim, with whoever wins this game is going to win the Heisman. Yep. Julian saying like all this stuff. And Bryant Haynes and that defense absolutely demolished him so much in that game. And then, of course, the Miami game later didn't help his stock any either. But now everyone is actually doubting Julian, saying this is what he had to say about Indiana in that game and what caused him so much trouble.
Yeah, you definitely watch the losses, those hurt. So you definitely rewatch those and see what you could have done better and how you could have improved. And you write it down and things that you want to improve on. They're really well coached. They're great in their zone drops. They get to the right spot, and they make it very tough on quarterbacks and offenses to pick them apart. There's not many big plays you're going to see on Indiana's defense.
So Julian saying, giving his credit to, again, Brian Haynes and the coaching staff being in the right places and all that type of stuff. We hear that. I think Julian Saint's being underrated this year. I argue that he's going to be better than Dante Moore. I know the person on the other side of this microphone is going to agree with me. I think he might end up being the best quarterback in the Big Ten. I think Josh Hoover is going to be very good too. But I think Julian Saint has the skill set. I'm not out on Julian Saint. They ruined his reputation in the Big Ten championship game, and Miami did in the postseason.
Well, and when you look back to where he struggled the most, in some ways it was the first game against Texas, but you can write that off as his very first game starting. Yeah. And then it was Indiana and Miami, the two teams that played for the national title, that had really good defenses, had really good defensive lines. And I think the bigger story as it relates to Julian Saint is ultimately the offensive line for Ohio State. They get more guys coming back this year. I think the offensive line is going to be better. When the offensive line is better, that makes the running game better. Bo Jackson's back after a good debut season. He's got Jeremiah Smith still. There's plenty of talent coming in around him. I think he's going to be really good because they will all progress and develop more. I have no doubt that he's better than Dante Moore. I've got no doubt that he's going to be right up there with everybody else. Ohio State is going to be a problem this season, even though they have a gauntlet schedule.
Yeah, and they do come play in Bloomington. I was talking to some Indiana University officials this week. I got to meet up with them, and they were talking about this is one of the most demanded tickets that they've ever seen in the history of Indiana, just basketball, football, whatever, is the October 17th match against Ohio State. Ryan Day was asked about it, and he had some complimentary things to say about Bloomington and their fans.
Here in Bloomington. Well, I think, it's going to be a great environment. We haven't played since Coach Cignetti's been at Indiana, but I know that, man, the atmosphere there has changed and it's really ramped up there. So that'll be another game on the road that we're going to have to really prepare for and play well. But you got to give them a lot of credit. It starts with the quarterback and how he played last season, and then I don't think enough people give enough credit to that defense and how well they played. We look back on the game that we played in the Big Ten championship game and, look at those key situational things that we should have done a much better job with. And, we take ownership of that, and we had to get that better. They won in those situations. If we win those situations, the outcome's different, but that's football. And that's where we got to be better and make sure that we're ready next time when those opportunities come up that we make the plays.
When they used to come, it was majority Ohio State fans. Like you and I experienced that.
It was tough.
When we were in the Big Ten East, it was tough. Every other year, it was tough. And Indiana loved it because they would joke about the media day picture was always the Ohio State game because everybody was wearing red. They weren't wrong. It was real. Like it was a sold out crowd and everybody was wearing red. So they took that picture. They better be taking pictures this year because I think there's going to be a lot more crimson than scarlet and barely any scarlet, in my opinion, going into that game.
It will be an incredible scene. I've already been looking at tickets. I've got to start up a savings plan. I need Governor Brown to start a 529 plan just for Indiana football tickets. That's what I really need to have happen to do well, because it will be the matchup of the year. I fully expect Indiana at least to be undefeated as we're heading into that matchup. Ohio State, maybe. Game day will be there. Like, I just put it in right now. This will be the game of the year, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I think the world, if Indiana wins that game, Memorial Stadium should be talked about as one of the toughest places to play in college football, like at that point. Because we're going to win, not only because we have a very quality team on the field, but just the energy from that crowd. Like, looking back, it will be a noon game. Like, basically,
for sure. It'll be
Joel
Fox
Klatt's like,
yes,
we will be there. It's like, okay, it will be a noon
But game day will be there too. That's the thing. It'll be so big that both shows will be there, I bet. And listen, you're right. It will have to be, if Indiana wins, one of the toughest environments to play, because after you hear John Mellencamp's hurt so good in third quarter, how could you not be intimidated? So it's going to be electric.
I think Ryan Day, his literal nipple ring will pop off when he was hurt so good by John Mellencamp. All right, Tim, there's some roster news that we got to get into before we get into, of course, the Big Ten and SEC debate. Tristan Abram, a redshirt freshman on this year's roster, announces that he's transferring. I don't quite understand that, by the way, because it's not the transfer portal. But I guess it comes out he's been off the team for a few weeks. I guess he's announcing he's transferring for after the season.
Or before, you just remember the workaround.
He can't go anywhere.
But you had declare yourself a track athlete, and then you can transfer.
Yeah,
that was the workaround that the UCLA player did.
I have not seen that from him, and that's not been reported.
He's an athlete now for another sport, and then he can transfer. I bet there's ways that you can get around this, or just get around it by suing the NCAA and calling all their rules a sham.
You'll win,
which is the easiest thing to do. So I think that's the
I'm actually surprised that didn't happen this spring, aren't you? Like, especially when Brendan Sorsby, how did a quarterback not transfer to Texas Tech and sue? Like, that seemed like a no-brainer. But anyways, Tristan Abram leaves. Jamie Jordan was really high on him. We had talked about him a little bit on the defensive line, maybe stepping up. He did get a couple snaps last year, especially when we got deep into our roster. I think Indiana fans have just kind of got to get used to this, that we will lose players. Players will melt off. Players that I think when Cignetti's talking about, he had a quote about bad apples and all this stuff. And I'm not saying Tristan Abrams is a bad apple. Sometimes it just doesn't work out between both teams. And all those types of things. I wish him the best of luck and all that stuff. But it does there's a lot of talk about the depth of the defensive line. And while the defensive ends have a lot of depth, the inside guys have two of the best inside guys in college football on the starting two. After that is a question of we got transferred from Tulsa and Joe Yelly, and then and we got a few different guys that can fill in there, and we know Pat Kuntz's development academy is going to get guys ready to go and up and running. I thought Tristan Abram could be one of those guys, but then on late Friday night, another court case comes out, and the NCAA loses in court again, basically, which was so obvious. The 5-5 which is what was passed this summer, who didn't apply to this most recent graduating class. They were going to do it forward thinking, and very obviously someone sued and got an injunction. They didn't get it overturned. They got an injunction that now allows fifth-year players who had an extra year of eligibility. So basically what we're talking about is guys that played 4 years without a red shirt. In modern-day college football, I just called Tristan Abram a redshirt freshman. I think now the nomenclature is he's a sophomore, and then it's going to be senior plus is probably going to be his fifth year. They can now play, and they are now eligible. I immediately, who you and I had said, Stephen Daly should have been the one suing.
Credit to you. Credit to Trent McGee. Brought this up months ago. Months ago,
the NCAA is so stupid. Like, why did you not just go, we're passing this and we're retroactively applying it to this year's class because we were discussing it and all that type of stuff? You knew you were going to get sued. You knew you were going to lose. Like, it's so dumb.
It's incredible.
Jonathan Brady. Yeah, Jonathan Brady announces that he's going to seek an extra year of eligibility. Holden stays. Stephen Daly and Kellen Wyatt. All three guys have not signed any NFL deal at all. They're all probably eligible to return. Tim, what's your thoughts on those guys returning?
Well, and I think that is the link potentially, probably, almost certainly to the Tristan Abrams situation too, which is I would not doubt that as that sort of comes out, that maybe there's been some talk around the football team in the office, like, yeah, Kellen might come back if the court case goes, or Steven might be ready. Like they're thinking he could, be playing in October or something. And I bet Tristan Abrams probably it may not even be a culture fit type of a thing. It may just be, well, when the hell am I going to get a playing time? Not only did they bring in new transfers, now they're going to bring back some of these fifth year guys. I'm not going to see the field this year. I've got to go find the place that's for me, which same thing with like Alberto was, well, I can go to Georgia Tech and go start. And at Indiana, I might be a backup or competing for time. I've got no doubt. I would not be surprised, particularly Kellen Wyatt, who's more out from whatever injury that he had than maybe Stephen Daly is, could be looking at, sure, I'll take a quick little check and come back and play for Indiana football again. I would be not surprised at all if at least one of those three players that you mentioned, Stephen Daly, Kellen Wyatt, and Holden Stays, comes back and joins the team at the start of football camp.
Yeah, I think there is a roster limit, a pretty hard cap that got put in the revenue share, and I don't know how much Indiana's under it. Tristan Abram leaving obviously opens up a spot.
Creates a spot. Yep.
So like there is, I don't know how many spots they have. I don't know how much NIL money. I don't know how much the program was looking for it. People were mad at me because I was like, Jonathan Brady, like I say this in the nicest, most respectful way. Like our receiving room is the most deepest room. I don't think it's in his best interest to come back and play.
I would agree.
People like the return game. I'm like, go look up Tyler Morris's return stats at Michigan 2 years ago. Like he was better than Jonathan Brady under a guy that was, gooning in the locker room.
Look at the opportunities we need for LeBron Bond and Davion Chandler. I want those guys returning kicks.
And Shaz Preston can return the ball. Like, yeah. And I don't think it's in his best interest. Like it's nothing disrespectful to him. Like he's just not going to play here. Those other three guys are, I'm not saying the defensive line's a position of need, but Stephen Daly's an all Big Ten player. Kellen Wyatt was on pace to be an all Big Ten player. Like those guys will inevitably shove other guys down the depth chart. So you take the talent because injuries do happen. Maybe Stephen Daly needs a couple months, but a healthy Stephen Daly in November, not going to be mad about it.
Not going to be mad about it either. Nope.
So,
and that's the thing.
It helps them
bet
for their NFL careers.
This is the thing. The money is there. 1,000% the money is there. Like, I forget the NIL, like, or the rev share or whatever, or like a scholarship player. Like I have no doubt we can call up an alum donor being like, hey, we need to get Holden Stays in. You saw how important Riley Nowakowski was. We don't have much. We need to bring this guy back. Can you cut a check for 6 figures right now? That ink would not even be dry before it's ripped off the checkbook.
Yeah. People are very excited about Brock Schott, by the way. We talked about the tight ends last Sunday. Shout out Brock Schott's grandpa, who is a listener of Kirkwood and Dunn. Shout
right.
Yeah. He was obviously very excited about his son, his grandson playing for Indiana, and thinks he's going to have some. And Tim is a big believer. Tim sees those muscles and think he's there.
My dude is jacked.
even Riley Nowakowski, who is drafted and in an NFL camp right now, had Holden Stays next to him and getting some rotational pieces. I think that could be a good fit for that. So it'd be interesting how that goes. All right, Tim, you ready to talk SEC Big Ten? Because the world is
all anybody ever
talk
wants to
SEC
hear
Big
now.
Ten. We have like 4 weeks left until college football and we get to actually talk about games. So we're going to talk a little SEC Big Ten before we get into pro football Hoosiers and then wrap it up with Big Ten rankings this year. So let's hear from Mike Kadick, who was responding to Cignetti's hype machine comment.
This was already who he was, and now it's just gasoline on the fire here, Mike.
Right. I mean, he came into Indiana with quotes that, stopped a lot of people in their tracks, and he's just building on this. He was right about, coming in saying he wins. He's not taking the backseat to anyone. 2 years later, he wins a national championship. Comes into this media day, already a national championship on his belt, and says, listen, the SEC is a bunch of soft guys that cry and complain about everything. The SEC hypotheticals, SEC versus Big Ten. Listen, the facts are the Big Ten has won the last 3 national championships. And what's funny is someone posted on Instagram, first 15 comments are literally all proving his point about SEC people crying and complaining that the Big Ten, I'm like, you guys, this is all proving Coach Cignetti's point that everything runs through the Midwest, man. The Big Ten. I know we added some West Coast teams. I get that.
So these are some numbers that I've gathered in my preseason.
Look at even the
prep.
bowl seasons.
8-2 against the SEC in the last 2 bowl seasons.
All right, Tim. That sets the stage because what Mike Kadick just talked about, like he was talking about internet people commenting, anonymous commenters. Well, ESPN play some calls. I'm going to need the beautiful Laura Rutledge to get on here and defend our SEC honor.
Like there's a little hate towards the South.
No. So we're just talking about facts and stats and stuff.
Okay, that's fine. Except I wanted to point out just a couple things. So I think one of the reasons why the SEC maybe has not advanced as far in the playoff as some SEC fans would like to see is because the competition within the league is so difficult that 9 games of craziness week in and week out.
They were playing 9 games, Laura Rutledge. They were playing 8.
Yeah,
this is the first year.
Right.
Yeah,
and so
they
by the
chew each other
time
up.
they get to the end, there's not many left. For one, they eliminate each other, but furthermore, they're gassed.
You've got the most
injured.
bids. What are you talking
They have
about?
issues. I'm not making excuses. I'm just pointing out facts because you were pointing out facts. And then
No, we're all gassed. I
the
don't
other
even
thing
know
I
if you
would-
can't get gassed.
okay, but the other thing I would like to point out is look at the NFL draft and how many players come out of the SEC.
Yeah.
And that's how we
Good individual players. They don't
Yeah, that's crazy. You guys can't win like that with all the talent. I mean,
You got to hand it to McAfee. Like they are as even though they get millions of dollars from the ESPN, they defend the Big Ten on a lot of levels. But Tim, you were yelling there.
Just make
what your reaction?
unbelievable comments. Just every point of that is so easily wrong and can be disproven immediately. The schedule is so hard. 9 games. They've been playing 8. This is the first year they're going to play 9 conference games. Do you know who was playing 9 conference games before this? The Big Ten. What are you talking about? What are we? They've beaten each other up, and so they didn't get as many opportunities. The SEC has gotten more teams in the playoffs. They get more teams in because of this bias. You've had all the opportunity. What are you talking about? Beating each other up and like eliminating each other? You didn't eliminate each other. You've had more opportunities, and then you're just like, well, I guess there's more NFL draft picks. What? Just completely wrong on every level. And I did love McAfee just be like, well, we're here talking about facts. Sorry, Laura. Like this is not
They got so many teams in the playoffs, and it helped them actually win games because they couldn't beat any other Power 4 teams. So like they had to beat each other and group of 5 teams in the playoffs last year. So like good on the SEC for getting enough easy wins into the college football playoffs so they could actually get a win in the CFP. Yeah, Tim, it's bad. It's not good, and they don't know what to do, and they're all just kind of proving, like Mike Kadick said, they're all just kind of proving Sig's point here. So this guy, you know what? I'm going to skip this. We're going to skip this one, and we're going to go in to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, a person that we have hated on here quite a bit. Paul Finebaum went up on Dan Patrick's show and had said,
how important is this upcoming season for the SEC in football with those 3
back to back to back titles, and I don't know how much pressure is on the SEC as a whole.
Yeah, Dan, I can give you a live report from that. I just spent 4 days last week at SEC Media Days, and you can't, put your order in at Starbucks without hearing somebody talk about it. It's on everyone's mind. And I was stupid enough last year in one of these interviews in August to say that if the SEC can't beat the Big Ten this year, I'm leaving the country. I lost so much money betting against Indiana last year. I didn't have enough money to leave the country. I'm still here. I'm not making that claim anymore. Quite frankly, I'm no longer, I jumped off the Titanic. I'm no longer saying that the SEC is the best conference. As you know, I wrote a book about 11 or 12 years ago saying the SEC, my conference can be your conference, why the SEC still rules college football. And by the way, Dan, I can get you that book very cheap right now. For mere pennies on the dollar. But the Big Ten is the best conference. I thought we'd get through media days without anyone claiming that. And then on Friday, there was my good friend and yours, Mike Greenberg, interviewing. And I love when people say, your colleague, Nick Saban. Hold on. He's not my colleague. He's got 9 houses. He makes $100 million a year. He owns about 3 Mercedes-Benz dealerships. We shared the same makeup person last week at SEC Media Days, not the same hair person. His hair person worked on him for about an hour. They just shake their head. But he said the SEC is still the best. And again, I realize he's on the payroll at Alabama, but the SEC is not the best, Dan.
Tim, what is happening? What is happening? Do we have to stop making fun of Paul Finebaum now?
No, first of all, no, we are definitely going to continue to make fun of Paul Finebaum. Paul, we certainly make fun of Paul Finebaum's audience. That's 1,000,000% true. But we broke him. And finally, and there's been enough clips this week, we have finally broken some of them. People are that are cashing checks from ESPN, really, Paul's not cashing that big of a check from ESPN, are still going to be out there like Laura Rutledge being like, you got to say the company line here. But guys, this is the world we live in now. The Big Ten is so clearly better. It's going to take a real uprising for actually the SEC to pull this out.
I can't get enough of these clips. I'm sorry, audience. I got to show one more. I got to show one more of Paul Finebaum talking about this on First Take. And Crimson Cast had a great tweet about basically what has Cignetti done to make it like this. Here's what Paul Finebaum had to say on First Take.
He's 100% correct. And with what he said yesterday, he ended this conversation. Shay, it was virtuoso. It was brilliant. A lot of back and forth the last 2 weeks. And the SEC has lost this verbal battle just like they lost the battle on the football field. I don't need to regurgitate the stats. You laid them out. He laid them out. But he did it so effectively, so succinctly, and with such force because he has the goods. He has the receipts to back it up. And as someone who, as you well know, and some of the audience can attest to, I have waved this flag for the SEC for a long time. You have to put that flag down at some point and just let the field do the talking, because all of the back and forth, whether it's the commissioner, whether it's Nick Saban last week saying the SEC is still the best, just makes the SEC look ridiculous. And it shouldn't look ridiculous. It's a great football conference, but it hasn't won the title. Everyone knows the stats. So for my friends in the SEC, just shut up already, get to September, play football, and see if you can change the narrative. But if you're not going to, Kurt Cignetti or someone else is going to keep stuffing the SEC in the locker.
I can't believe it. He's the most rational person at the 4-letter network. Paul Finebaum.
Him and Stephen A. Smith, who
Stephen A. Smith doesn't know anything about what's going on. He just knows what he could say. But yeah, your point taken.
Right. Yes. But when you hear clips of Laura Rutledge or they'll have SEC Network, like Tim Tebow will be having some clip, I promise you, in the next month talking about how hard it is to go into South Carolina and go play a game. This will still be a machine that is trying to hype them up because it's the product they bought. And they need people who run marketing units at companies to pay for advertising on there. And so they need people to watch. And so they're going to drum it up into something that it unfortunately is not. And it is the Big Ten Conference that is dominating college football.
Yeah, it is easy and low hanging fruit. And I don't mind talking about the SEC and the Big Ten rivalry a lot because right now we're on top and it's great. But a new season does start, and SEC, like Paul Finebaum said, has a chance to prove themselves, and we'll see if they actually do it. Tim, the Big Ten and the SEC came together on late Friday night, another one, saying that they are going to be supporting the Save College Act, Save College Sports Act or whatever that's been in the Senate. They've been resistors. Supposedly the White House got involved here, strong-armed people, all that type of stuff, and now they are going to support it. They publicly put out that they're supporting it. We'll see if they actually, like, behind closed doors or like, yeah, still don't take this deal. It's a big chance for the college sports to kind of settle some things and write some things. Now, do I think most of it's all going to get thrown out in court? Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yes.
So, now they do grant antitrust exemption and all that stuff, but until they start collectively bargaining with players, which Stanford is now putting together their own union and hopefully collective bargain, until that happens, nothing will change. But it's a big step in the right direction and can be a political win for those senators putting themselves out there, which I thought they were definitely going to lose. Still hasn't passed.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Let's wait until we actually get something passed, and then we'll see.
Pro Hoosiers, Michael Kamara, unfortunately for the 49ers, gets taken out by this electric substation, goes off during training camp, injures his knee. Just unfortunate. I haven't seen if it's been officially diagnosed, but literally the 49ers have 17,000 players that have season-ending injuries, including my own fantasy football player, Ricky Purcell, who I dropped late last night because he's out for the season. So hopefully Michael Kamara, it's just a strained knee or sprain. Or even if he did get injured,
carted off, which is
he
tough.
did. Yeah, not good, Tim. I'm trying to positively spin this, but Curtis
Kalen
Rourke,
Black, maybe hold on to everything.
He did look good. They were talking about Kalen Black popping, and of course, it's like, yeah, he's a very good running back. Like, I might be drafting him in my fantasy football this year. Tim, the last thing I'm going to talk about pro Hoosiers is Raiders quarterback Fernando Mendoza, which feels very weird to say, came out with On 3 and talked about that Indiana was fourth or the fifth variable in his recruitment, adding Indiana wasn't the highest bidder when it came to coming here. He talked a little bit about his family being here, seeing Albert. We've heard him talk about Alberto's development and how he felt like they could develop him and prepare him. I'm just adding this because this just continues. I knew that his NIL dollars would shock people, how low it was compared to winning the Heisman and what we're seeing like true freshman players get.
Right.
Indiana's roster last year was not near the highest. Blue chip ratio was very low, all that fun stuff. We won it. And I just put this in here to just make this comment. This is going to be Indiana's most talented roster this year from 1 to 85 in the Cignetti era. And Fernando Mendoza is showing players, hey, guess what? You can come to Indiana and develop and get $50 million guaranteed contract in your first year. If Josh Hoover goes in the first round, Indiana is maybe done having to pay as much in the NIL era. And Fernando Mendoza is proving that. All right. Last thing is Big Ten rankings. Media rankings comes out, Tim, and we want to get your thoughts on where everything, you alluded to this earlier, that Indiana comes in at number 3, Purdue as last, Ohio State and Oregon are above Indiana, USC and Michigan round out the top 5. What are your thoughts on the Big Ten preseason football ranking?
This is just such bullshit. I mean, I think this is the Big Ten media poll, right? Like from the media days. I understand when it's like national guys at On3 or Yahoo or something else that just kind of aren't in the conference sort of day to day and are just going to discount these things because they're biased to what a decade of college football has told them about sort of talent or whatever else. I expected better here. For Ohio State and Oregon, they are good. We are very much clearly a top 3 tier. there's that is the tier in the Big Ten college football landscape this year. It is Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana are a tier unto themselves. But for Indiana to be 3 is kind of insane. Like, we have to replace the quarterback, but again, how many times do I come on this podcast and say it? I tweeted this too. All Indiana and Curt Cignetti has ever done is taken a quarterback and made them a lot fucking better than what they were the season before. So I have no doubt that Josh Hoover is going to be extremely good this year. And the rest of the talent coming back, like, you're just betting on Dante Moore to be good? Why? When has Dante Moore been good? When has Oregon, which, remember, lost both their offense and defensive coordinator this year, shown that they're going to make a guy better? Like, I guess Dylan Gabriel got better, but I think that's more just like a base level going from Oklahoma to Oregon. Like, Bo Nix got better because of where he was at Auburn, but like, the talent development has not been there. They've just gotten good guys out of high school and then kept them as good guys. Indiana being 3 is insane to me. They should be number 1. It's kind of stupid that they're 3.
If I'm Dan Lanning and Ryan Day, I am pissed off at this poll. Like, they're like, you really wanted to give Curt Cignetti more talking points? And he was saying, he made snide comments about, well, I guess we're just number 3 in our conference this year. Like, you're giving that guy more fuel. October 17th, when you come to town, Ohio State, you're giving Curt Cignetti a talking. We saw he referenced the Illinois talk, and now all of a sudden he gets bulletin boards. Cignetti said in an interview at Big Ten Media Days that he like saves stuff on his phone in May, so that he could pull it out and use it. And I absolutely love that. He screenshotted this NBC Sports poll. I guarantee you that's where he's at.
Yeah.
All right, Tim. Long show today for us, but there's a lot to talk about. I do want to make it a little bit of an announcement here. There is going to be a new show on the Kirkwood and Dunn channel, and it's going to be with me, yours truly, doing a solo show on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So basically, Tim and I do a long podcast every Sunday and Wednesday. And so we're going to give you time to listen to those podcasts on Sunday and Monday, and then Wednesday, Thursday. But those off seasons, there's a lot of you that listen to our podcast right away. So we're going to give you a little more content. Plus, these shows are really long already, and there's a lot of content we don't get to that I want to do in these after things. I did a little bit solo show when Tim was in Chicago. You guys seem to like it, so we'll give more. It's going to be called, and Tim can make fun of this, it's fine, but I did a lot of extensive research with our marketing team they're all named Claude. It's going to be called Bookstore Brew with Trim McGee. Okay. And the reason why, the reason why, I got asked this last night because I was talking to our legit human that does a lot of our designing. He's whipping me up a logo. I got asked this last night, and it's because, one, Tim knows this, I collect coffee mugs from bookstores all across college campus bookstores all across the country, and I will be drinking those because it's a morning show, and I want to talk college sports and not just particularly Indiana. I want to talk about everything. Sure. Tim and I get to Indiana-centric, and we talk an hour and 15 minutes about it on here. So that's one thing. And then secondly, and probably the most important thing, is that it was available on all social media platforms. There's a lot of podcasts out there, guys. It's hard to, if I called it College Sports in the Morning, like there's a podcast for that, all this stuff. So I had to think of something creative, and the world is running out of names for podcasts. So Bookstore Brew is what it's going to be called for now until I get mocked into the oblivion and people are like, what is this show? But I'm excited for it. It'll be fun. It's basically going to be just a social media clip recap show of all the things on the internet. Maybe Tim, when he's driving down to Bloomington, can take it all in the morning.
And that's the thing. There's so much content during the week to get to that we end up like we have a good schedule, I think, in terms of our flow during the season. But there is so much news that is not directly Indiana related. But I think you're right to point out like things that are happening in the SEC or across the country or in the sort of college football media landscape do eventually sort of affect the way Indiana is positioned. And we still have day jobs at times, but being able to get to that content requires different times, different episodes, different structures than what we're doing. So that'll be a good listen to hear that we're able to get to that content, quickly.
Well, I think the biggest thing is Indiana fans, like, say what you want, but there's been a lot more football fans than there was 2 years ago. And like, we get criticized for that a lot. Obviously, Tim and I watched college football our whole lives. Like, that doesn't necessarily apply to us, but there's a lot of Indiana fans, and I'm not hating on them at all for like jumping on the bandwagon. I do not care. The bandwagon and the tent is big enough for everybody to join. But then let's talk about college football like in a funny and educated manner, like that, so that you can, when the SEC, when the SEC people come and talk trash to you, you can point out like, your dumb coach said this and blah, blah, blah. And we don't have enough time on this pod to dive into everything that is said on the internet about college football. And so it gives us another outlet to do it. So be looking for that starting this Tuesday, and Wednesday and Friday will be out. But as always, you can follow Tim at all times at TB Hoosiers. You can follow me at ST McGee. You can follow Kirkwood and Dunn at Kirkwood and Dunn, where we will be putting out our store here soon. So make sure if you comment on our channels that you're excited about that, gives us more excitement to do it. And then Wednesday, we have a special guest. Should we tell them or should we tease it?
I just tease. I don't want to. It's so good that like, it's an interview that has not been done in the IU football media landscape
that I've seen.
So absolutely not. So like, I think there were some really cool insights into it. I think it really sort of helped tell the story of Indiana football in a different way that has not been covered yet.
Yeah. So that'll be Wednesday. We'll see you on Wednesday. Actually, I'll see you on Tuesday. Then we'll see you on Wednesday.
You know what to do.